Hello and welcome to Two Tiers Deep, the Women's Cricket Weekly Show, with me, Rosa Simpkin.
And me, Chloe Hill.
I'm the journalist, working in all the tiers of women's cricket.
And I'm the cricketer, currently playing in the game.
We saw a gap in the market, mainly from a Tier 2 coverage perspective. So we thought, why not start a podcast? To start with, we probably should explain something to you, which otherwise, none of this will make any sense. Last year, the ECB announced Project Darwin, a project to hand the game back to the 18 counties, split into 3 tiers. Tier 1 is the professional level, consisting of the Blaze, Durham, Essex, Lancashire, Hampshire, Somerset, Surrey and Warwickshire. I could go into the depths about why the Blaze aren't knots, but we'll leave that for another time.
And Tier 2 counties are made up of Derbyshire, Glamorgan, Gloucestershire, Kent, Leicestershire, Middlesex, Northamptonshire, Sussex, Worcestershire and Yorkshire.
And then Tier 3 are the national counties.
Before we get started on today's episode, I'd like to give a shout out to our leading partner, Her Game 2. Her Game 2 Cricket partnered the Rose Talks Ball podcast and all the branches of the show, including Two Tiers Deep. Her Game 2 aims to spread a message of hope and equality throughout sport. Initially only in football, they have recognised that discrimination towards women and girls in sport is not limited only to football, so they have expanded into other sports, including cricket, where they can support, encourage and inspire women in the game. If you'd like to find out more about the work they are doing, you can find them online through their website, hergame2.co.uk/cricket, or you can find them on social media by searching for Her Game 2 Cricket. Thank you as always to Her Game 2 for their support of the podcast.
Welcome back to the Two Tiers Deep podcast, and Chloe, it's been quite the week.
Yeah, it's been an absolute manic week of cricket and I can't wait for us to discuss and debrief it all.
I mean, for listeners who don't know, this weekend we didn't have one last finals day, not even 2, but 3 across all the tiers. And lucky for them, we had representation at all of them at the cost of my sanity. How have you found the weekend?
Do you know what? I think you've obviously done all the travelling to both Saturday and Sunday, the Tier 1 and Tier 2 finals. And obviously I was there for the Tier 3 final. But, I mean, what a busy weekend of women's cricket and women's sports in general, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, how do you feel?
I mean, it's been quite a weekend. Tired. As you can see, I couldn't find an England football shirt, but I am repping England today after the Lionesses quite unbelievably beat Spain yesterday in the final. We were all watching it in the press conference with Izzy Wong, as you do. And it rounded off an incredible weekend very nicely.
Yeah, definitely. And I think also we'll come to talk about our predictions shortly and see what we got right and what we got wrong. I think we both got one right at least. But yeah, what a weekend of women's sports and how great to see it all be live streamed on Sky Sports.
100%. And on that note of the prediction we got right, should we have a look at Tier 1 finals day?
Yeah, let's go through it.
So yesterday at the Oval, we saw 2 games of T20 cricket. An eliminator between the Blairs, as you do, long weekend. An eliminator between the Bears and the Blaze, and a final between Surrey and, well, let's get to that in a second. Let's have a look at the first game. Do you want to walk us through it?
Yeah, so obviously starting with the eliminator game, we had the Bears against the Blaze. Bears won the toss and elected to bat and posted a very competitive total. And I think runs on the board in a finals day is massive, and 163 for 8. I think the Bears can be saying a big thank you to Izzy Wong, promoted to batting at 3 when we all know her as an opening fast bowler, 59 off 38 balls. And Stair Callis, after an interesting Tier 2 finals day, contributed the bat of 45 off 33 balls. Obviously, what was your thoughts and feelings being there, seeing it in action? I guess seeing Izzy Wong go about her game and smashing 2 sixes as well.
I mean, rather fittingly, I've got a print of Izzy Wong to the left of me whilst recording this podcast, just as you do. I mean, what an all-round performance from her. She's the kind of player that when she performs with either bat or ball in hand, you know she's going to be in for a good second innings because she relies a lot on her energy, and she was just unbelievable. And I was very pleased to see Star Callis do well off the back of more of a complicated Tier 2 finals day. I think we also need to give a shout out to Sarah Glenn, 3 for 29 from 4 with the ball in hand, and she's someone who, off the back of England disappointment, has really stood out.
Yeah, I think Sarah Glenn's had a great T20 campaign for the Blaze. Obviously, a bit like Sophia Dunkley last year. She obviously got dropped from the England setup and returned to South East Stars and absolutely dominated domestic cricket. And I think we're certainly seeing the same with Sarah Glenn going back to the Blaze and doing what she does best. And yeah, I think great contribution. And also with the bat as well, 19 off 12. We know that she's more than capable of clearing the ropes. And obviously in the situation that the Blaze were in and they needed to go for it, I guess she put her hand up and yeah, she had a great day out.
100%. And then looking at the second innings, we saw Izzy Wong absolutely smashing it once again. 2 wickets in the first over off consecutive balls, and just the small wickets of Tammy Beaumont and Catherine Bryce. I mean, she certainly was on one. What are your thoughts on that?
I think, yeah, like what you mentioned earlier, I think Izzy Wong is very much an energetic player and she's had a fantastic first innings. So I think when you see that she's had a fantastic first innings, I think beware when she's got the ball in her hand. And for her to walk away with figures of 4 for 14 after 3 overs, 100% MVP of that match. And yeah, it's great to see her back doing what she does best with the ball.
Another shout out I'd love to make is Millie Taylor, who has had a season of the ages, and it's so good to see young players coming in Project Darwin and just absolutely smashing it. She topped the wicket-taking charts in her first season as a professional cricketer. Do you have anything to say about her?
Yeah, I think I was just reading something literally before we jumped on the pod, and I think Ali Maiden put all Millie Taylor wanted to do this season was to make her debut. And here she is, being the leading wicket taker in the Vitality Blast for Tier 1. And yeah, I'm just, I guess, obviously playing with her and seeing what she's about at Southern Vipers. It's so great to finally see she's getting the recognition she deserves. And yeah, couldn't be happier for her.
But on that note, the Bears overcame the Blaze, a massive result for them. But not particularly surprising. I mean, the Blaze haven't beaten the Bears this season. They tied in the opening game at Trent Bridge. And then the Bears overcame the Blaze later on.
Yeah, to be fair, I thought that game was a great game, but I thought it might have been a bit closer than what it was going to be because the Blaze have just got something about them where they know how to win those big games. And I think we spoke about it on a previous pod that the Bears or Warwickshire, when they first announced their squad at the beginning of the season, we probably thought they were a few experienced players light. Whereas the Blazers, for me, is packed with experience of the Bryces, Kirsty Gordon, Georgia Elwes, Marie Kelly. They've been around for so long. But it's just so nice to see how the Bears have all come together. And on the pitch, they just look like that family unit where they all support each other and back each other. And I think that's what makes a team so successful. And I guess the new coaching era of Ali Maiden with this group, I think we've certainly seen a big shift from Central Sparkles to Warwickshire.
It feels like maybe they've almost overperformed quite early because they're a team who, when you look at them on paper, appear to be building for the future. And for them in their first season as a group, and I'd say they've had quite a few major changes from that Sparks era, particularly the loss of Eve Jones, captain since day one, to Thunder. And yet, here they are in a finals day, their second finals day of the season, can I add? But this one's more significant because they had to play more than 3 games to get here. but it's a massive result for them. And we then moved on to our second game of the day, or that was not English, hello. We then moved on to our second game of the day, Surrey versus the Bears in the Blast final. Surrey automatically qualified for this game after topping the group. Do you have any initial thoughts before we dive into this game about their season?
Oh, I think for me, obviously, we know that Surrey have been a massive standout, and we both predicted them as our Vitality Blast winners. And I guess we'll get on to that in a minute. But I think one thing that really stands out for me is the amount of players they've used throughout this campaign. And I think when I was having a look at it yesterday, I think from start to yesterday in the Blast, they've used 20 players. And obviously, you can only field a side of 11. And that's mega. It just shows the strength and depth of this team, and whoever comes in constantly performs. And I guess from my perspective of playing with South East Stars last year, I've got not like a bias towards the girls at Surrey, but I just know the work ethic that these girls have got and know what the coach's mindset is all about and what the girls are out there to do. And absolutely chuffed for them to get to the final. And we'll discuss the game in a minute.
Someone I do want to give a massive shout out to, who unfortunately couldn't play in that final, is Alice Davidson-Richards. I watched her on Thursday at Guildford pick up a slight knock in the One Day Cup, and Grace Harris, as you do as the top player international, had to act as her runner. I mean, from her point of view, she's had an unbelievable season and has been really key for Surrey and Stars over the years.
Oh, 100%. She is someone who I would have in my team. If we were ever in a tough situation and she's out in the middle, I would be calm and relaxed and not worry. Because she's just got such a mature cricket head on her, knows her game inside out, understands scoreboard pressure, knows how to pace a game, incredible with the ball. She's had an exceptional season, and hopefully we'll see her back out on the cricket pitch soon.
Now, taking a look at this final, Surrey won the toss and put the Bears into bat first, which was a decision we were slightly surprised about in the press box after they'd just seen the Bears do very well batting first in the eliminator. But I guess that's a case of sticking to your guns.
Yeah, do you know what? That really baffled me when I saw that Surrey won the toss and elected to field. And I guess that's just another way of Bryony Smith and Johan Myberg's way of the Surrey way. It's so you never know what's going to happen. 9 times out of 10, they would have won the toss, elected to bat with that batting lineup and put a big score on the board. But they know, obviously, the oval inside out. And with that lineup they have, they know that they can chase a team down. And, it's surprising, but it doesn't surprise me, if that makes sense.
100%. Let's take a look at the first innings. The Bears struggled, I think it's safe to say, initially, losing openers Austin for 4 and Perrin for a duck. It's not the start you want to get off to, but Izzy Wong again coming in with 31, Nat Rafe with 23, and Laura Harris with an incredible 25 off just 11 balls. But it always felt like they were ever slightly short with 153.
Yeah, and I think the names obviously that you mentioned is great that they've contributed, but when you look at the lineup of Meg Austin, it hasn't really contributed. Dav Perrin obviously not had the finals day that she would have dreamed of, and we all know what she's capable of with the bat, but I guess that's T20 cricket. And I guess on a different day, if the top order fired and again Stair contributed as well, like she's in the semi-final, unfortunately not in the final, I think that Bears lineup on another day could be posting 170 plus. And I think that's a score you probably need when you've got a Surrey batting lineup like that coming at you.
100%. And a much needed shout out to Phoebe Franklin, who is a player who is consistently in the wickets on a game by game basis almost, and always falls under the radar. She took 2 for 16 from 4 overs and had an economy of 4, which is just when the best of a bowler was 7.75. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, Phoebe Franklin for me, she is the ultimate athlete. Obviously, she had quite a nasty injury a few seasons ago, which put her out. And she worked so hard on her fitness and her fielding and her bowling. You would pick her, let alone just on her fielding, to be in your side. But what she does with the ball, and obviously keeping to her last year, is she does something special with the ball, and I'd have her in that team week in, week out. And yeah, I'm just so pleased for her that going at an economy of 4 in a T20 Blast final, I think it was exceptional.
All of the Surrey bowlers were in the wickets. Stonehouse picked up 2, Capsey, McDonald Gay, and Gregory all picked up 1. But let's have a look at the chase, which felt pretty comfortable throughout, in all honesty. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, watching it, it just looked like Surrey had it under control from the start. Obviously, we know Bryony Smith goes out there and she's an explosive batter, and that's her role. It's either going to pay off from the get go, or she's going to take you down and be unbreakable to get out. So 21 off 17, I think by any means of her stretch, she obviously probably like to strike a little bit better. But to get her team off to a fantastic start like that, yeah, that's pretty much her role. And then obviously we saw Grace Harris with an incredible knock of 63 off 33 balls not out, to get her team over the line. Yeah, it was exceptional, and it's great to see Sophia Dunkley back in that Surrey team and doing what she does best. She's had such a fantastic season with England and with Surrey scoring runs, and I think 23 or 13 balls. I think that just changed the game there and then when she was there out in the middle.
I mean, Grace Harris just makes cricket look easy. Like every single game she plays, she's either contributing in the field, contributing with bat, probably hitting some of the biggest sixes in women's cricket, or with ball in this competition. And it's safe to say that she was probably the signing of the summer for Surrey.
Honestly, I wish she was signed last year when I was at South East Stars. I mean, her personality, let alone her cricket, is just another level, and she is made for the occasion. She is made for finals day. And for her to step up and perform in that situation, I think we all knew that it was going to be the Grace Harris show, and yeah, it was so good to watch. And then I think need to give a big shout out to Kira Chatley, because she's in this T20 Blast. She has been up and down the order. She's opened the batting. She's coming at 3. I think she's batted literally from 2 to, what number did she come in yesterday? 2 to 7 or 2? Yeah, 2 to 7. And every time she's had the bat in the hand, she's contributed so well. And it's just been so pleasing to see that she knows her game inside out. And as soon as she walks out to the middle, her game plan never changes. Yeah.
100%. She's another one who probably falls under the radar. And on that note, the Bears struggled bowling wise, it's safe to say, but there's a name who really stands out on the scorecard, and that is Amu Kumar, who struggled in that eliminator, but she took 2 for 13, but was only given the 2 overs, which seems an odd choice given the stakes of the game.
Yeah, obviously we saw her struggle in the eliminator game, but yeah, I don't know whether they thought spin was the way forward, because obviously Hannah Baker bowled her 4 overs and Millie Taylor bowled 3. Obviously Georgia Davis probably not had the final that she would have been or wanted, but we know what she's capable of the ball. But yeah, I guess it's so pleasing to see Amu come out with the ball and perform and just showcase what a talent she is at her age.
And in case people haven't gathered, Surrey lifted that trophy. A massive result for them in front of a home crowd, and it felt like a real occasion at the Oval. Proper crowd, proper atmosphere, proper TV coverage. It feels like women's cricket is on this unbelievable trajectory.
Yeah, it's so pleasing to see that it was broadcasted on Sky, and the girls got the recognition they deserve, and we actually had commentators, I guess, on the game who sort of, we've had issues before with commentators on the women's game not really talking or knowing what they're on about. But I think with Tier 1 Finals Day, I think they did it really well from watching it at home. Obviously, you were there in the ground, but yeah, from a TV coverage perspective, it was really good.
I mean, it felt like a finals day. I've been lucky enough to be at Edgbaston on numerous occasions for men's finals day, and it almost felt on the same level occasion wise. I arrived about an hour before the game, and there were queues around the ground to get in. There was activation all over the ground for kids. There was a mascot, Hungry Hippos, which we got very excited about in the press box. And there were almost 6,000 people there. And I know they sold more tickets, but with the Euros final and the Lionesses being involved in that, it was always going to be depleted slightly.
Yeah, but I think they still mentioned as well that, wasn't it they broke the record for a T20 domestic game finals day, and I think that just tells you how good the women's game is at the moment, and I guess how well Tier 1 cricket is going. And I'm sure we'll discuss later on the other two tiers. But yeah, really obviously pleased from a fan perspective to see how the finals day went for Tier 1.
There are a couple of players who we would like to give a shout out to who didn't make the finals day, but still were very much involved in the season. First of all, our MVP of the tournament, Susie Bates, who they put a picture up on the screen and didn't really explain why, and we were all absolutely baffled in the press box, but she topped the MVP rankings. And also Esme McGregor, who just was off to a flyer for Essex.
Yeah, I think obviously Susie Bates being that international cricketer and having all that experience behind her, it's obviously pleasing to see that she's come into the domestic game in England and just continued to bring her level and make our level, I guess, better. But yeah, so pleasing for Esme McGregor, who I guess in the regional system wasn't sort of that big name at Sunrisers, and probably didn't play half as much as what she's playing this season for Essex. But seeing her with ball in hand for Essex, I think she's got a very, very bright future ahead of her.
One of the biggest debates that we had both in the press box and apparently was also spoken about on Sky was regarding the format of the finals day and whether it's working just having the one eliminator and then the final. Because I think when you only have one team playing 2 games at cricket, they're immediately at a disadvantage. And we talk about momentum and how they have the momentum from the semi-final, but energy levels wise, Surrey were just kicking back and enjoying that eliminator. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, I've certainly got a thought that I'll maybe express a bit more after we speak about Tier 2. But just as a sort of where I'm at, I certainly think finals day and semi-finals eliminator certainly potentially could be interlocked between the both going forward for next year. But yeah, I would quite like to see Tier 1 finals day. If they're going to do it like that, let's copy how the men do theirs and have 2 eliminators and a final. You've got such a big day, and having it at the Oval, you might as well get the 4 teams there and make teams work for it instead of going, congratulations, you're already in the final.
100%. And it felt like a slightly odd decision, given last season we went up to a 4-game finals day for the first ever time. And it felt more competitive because of that. It felt like the teams kind of had an equal level of disadvantage, both having had to have 2 quite tight battles actually in the semi-finals before going into the final.
Yeah, and I guess if we want to have women's cricket looking the same, have Tier 2 finals day run exactly the same, have a final and an eliminator, not 2 semi-finals and a final. But I guess we'll get to that in a moment.
Shall we have a look at Tier 2, which I was also at in Northampton on the Saturday. 3 games of cricket this time, 2 semi-finals and an eliminator, with, oh my word, Middlesex coming out on top. I mean, we both predicted a Yorkshire win, I think for quite fair reasons we'll get into in a second. But Middlesex were just on one.
Do you know what? There's always that feeling of an upset on finals day, and I guess from a bittersweet perspective, it's quite nice for a side who's not automatically going up to tier one to actually win the day. And hats off to Middlesex; they played absolutely fantastic, and we'll debrief it shortly. But yeah, I think if you spoke to anybody, Yorkshire was everyone's favourites. But unfortunately, they crumbled under the pressure. And I guess that's something that they need to deal with going forward.
100%. And let's have a look at the day and how we got our champions. The first semi-final was between Middlesex and Leicestershire. And Middlesex won the toss and put Leicestershire into bat. No, they didn't. Yeah, they did. Oh, Middlesex won the toss and elected to field first. At the halfway stage of that innings, it felt like Leicestershire had made quite a competitive total, 140 runs on the board, massive contributions from Francesca Sweet with 38 and Scarlett Hughes with 47. What were your initial thoughts looking at their total?
Yeah, I think obviously playing in tier two and seeing the scores around the grounds throughout the comp, I think 140 has certainly been a competitive, if not a winning score. And seeing Leicester put 140 on the board, I think Middlesex would have probably thought, wow, we've got a bit of scoreboard pressure here. Well, I guess no one thought that actual rain would be around during the day. I mean, I certainly didn't from a fan perspective, and also seeing what's going on. But 140 on the board in a DLS chase for me should have been thereabouts. But I think obviously Leicester maybe got a little bit done by that, but Middlesex absolutely dominated it with the bat, and we'll get onto that shortly. But yeah, from a Leicestershire perspective, Francesca Sweets has been fantastic throughout this tier two campaign, and I think she finished second in the run scoring table overall for tier two. And then we'll discuss the Middlesex batters in a moment, where one of those players finished top of the run table.
I mean, before we get to that, a quick shout out to Ellie Phillips, who hit one of the biggest sixes I've seen in a very long time coming at the tail end. And also some Middlesex bowlers. Hannah Davis was definitely the pick of the bunch with 3 for 17 from 4. Izzy Routledge and Saskia Hortley also took 1 each. But looking at that chase, I think it's important to say that, my word, it was wet. The outfield was soaking. The ball just looked completely dead. And I was speaking to Becky Brooker post-play, who said that the issue was the ball was wet, but they couldn't dry it on themselves because they were wet. An interesting umpiring decision to get them out when they went out.
Yeah, I guess they just probably seeing that they've got another semi-final and another final, that they wanted to get a result, and they wanted to get the girls out as quickly as they can. And I mean, I wasn't there, but I hope the ground staff obviously were out there and doing the best what they could do. Usually ground staff are fantastic in a wet, rainy situation. So yeah, hopefully they did their best. But I mean, could Leicestershire not have got a few towels out there?
But Middlesex, regardless, absolutely dominated that chase. Didn't lose a wicket. Izzy Routledge, 45 not out from 34, and Finty Trussler with 52 not out from 30. Absolutely unbelievable stuff in the semi-final.
Yeah, I think that was a pure masterclass chase from Finty Trussler and Izzy Routledge. And obviously knowing Finty myself, just seeing how her game has improved with the bat was like, she absolutely controlled that run chase. Neither of them looked under pressure. It looked like they just knew each other's game inside out, and they both hit different sides of the ground, which I think like they really complemented each other really, really well. And their run in between the wicket was fantastic. Yeah, absolute kudos to Middlesex. They were fantastic in the semi-final.
Let's have a look at the second semi-final, Glamorgan versus Yorkshire. Glamorgan won the toss and decided to bat first, and they got off to a very promising start, actually. They had Yorkshire looking very stressed in the field. Bethan Ellis on loan from the Bears with 41 from 38, alongside her opening partner, Lauren Parfitt, with 29 from 26. But then they had a bit of a collapse and ended on 124 for 9 from their 20 overs. Do you have any thoughts from their batting display?
Yeah, I think when I saw their team, I thought, wow, they're going to be so competitive here. Obviously, they had Neve Holland on loan from Somerset, and Poppy Tulloch on loan from Hampshire. So they were stacked with experienced cricketers, and Glamorgan themselves have been such a scrappy, competitive team throughout this whole competition, and have got themselves in winning positions by, I guess, like the finest of margins. But yes, it's a shame that they didn't post more, especially when you're playing a side like Yorkshire and you know the batting line that they have. Obviously, they got off to a fantastic start, but yeah, you need the support from the rest of the team really to post that competitive total, and I guess that didn't really happen.
Let's take a look at Yorkshire's bowling. All of their bowlers were in the wickets. Olivia Thomas with 3 for 29 from 4. Beth Langston with 2 for 19 from 4. And Claudie Cooper with 2 for 25 from 4 were definitely the standouts. Slater and Fackrell also took 1 each. They have a pretty stacked bowling lineup, which is super exciting heading into Tier 1 cricket next season.
Yeah, and they've only, I guess, made it 10 times better by signing Jess Jonathan as their overseas as well. So they're going to be absolutely stacked and ready for Tier 1. And I was really interested in, obviously, I wasn't able to do the podcast last week, but just listening to Amy Campbell talk about like their team environment, how obviously they give them the opportunities to the young academy girls, and I guess preparing them mentally and physically as well. It just seems like they've got a strong team unit from, I guess, your most experienced player to your youngest academy player stepping up on that pitch. And yeah, they're absolutely stacked with the ball and with the bat.
They certainly are stacked with the bat. They chased the total at the loss of only 3 wickets, well within the 18th over. Lauren Winfield Hill and Georgie Boyce at the top of the order with 35 and 38. And on the note of Amy Campbell, 26 from just the 10 deliveries, alongside Maddie Ward with 21 from 17 to finish things off. All in a day's work.
Yeah, I think when we saw Amy Campbell come out to bat, I mean, obviously I was watching it at home and watching it through the live stream, but she had that fire in her eyes and she wasn't waiting around for the 19th, 20th over. She wanted it done and dusted. And her ball striking is phenomenal, and also being that point of difference of being a left-handed batter, you sort of know what you're going to get when Amy Campbell walks out to the middle, and she's not playing a defensive, slow game. She is playing a hard-hitting, quick game, and 26 of 10, 1-4 and 3 sixes, I think sums her up perfectly. And then a massive, massive shout-out again to Maddie Ward, captain and keeper, 20 years old and 21 off 17. I think it was sort of the innings that Yorkshire needed. It was really calm and composed, and it just controlled the game with ease. And I guess that allowed Amy Campbell to come in and play her game.
I mean, we've spoken a lot about Maddie this season, how impressed we are by her and her ability to step into quite big shoes in Lauren Winfield Hills in terms of captaincy. And it's super exciting to have such young players gaining these leadership abilities, especially given the current dilemma England women are facing.
Yeah, I think it's great to see, and there's certainly her name that keeps popping up, and 2 keepers, I guess, in Tier 1 that keeps popping up for us. And I think the exciting thing going forward is she is only getting better every single game she plays. Her batting has come on leaps and bounds from when I saw her in the England Under-19s World Cup a few years ago. And for me, right now, she potentially would be one of the first names on the team sheet for me.
Bowling-wise, we do need to give a shout-out to it. It was the day of the poppies for Glamorgan. Poppy Walker with 1 for 21 from 4, and Poppy Tulloch with 2 for 29 from 3. But the big one, And my word, it turned into a big one, the final between Middlesex and Yorkshire. Yorkshire, obvious favourites, the only professional team in the division, but Middlesex absolutely annihilated them. Yorkshire won the toss and put themselves in to bat first and only managed 101 for 9 from their 20 overs.
I mean, what a masterclass by Middlesex with the ball and in the field. I guess, was it spin to win for Middlesex? Again, I watched that final being at home as a neutral, and I guess part of me obviously wanted Middlesex to cause that upset, but also it's so exciting to see Yorkshire go out and play such a positive brand of cricket. But wow, seeing Katie Wolf with the new ball up top, especially as she struggled in that semi-final, 1 for 15 or 4, in a final, going at 3.7, I think it's mental. And again, Saskia Hawley, she just led that team superbly. Her bowling changes, fielding positions. Yeah, Yorkshire unfortunately looked like they couldn't get the ball away, and I guess it's sad for Yorkshire because obviously they were big favourites, but it's great for Middlesex, and yeah, so pleasing.
I mean, once again, we do have to give a shout out to Maddie Ward, who, without her, it would have been an even worse story for Yorkshire. She managed 39 from 35 in the middle of the order. The next highest scorer, only 12. I mean, as a young player stepping up, she really performed the role no one else could in that 11.
Yeah, and I don't know how many times we're going to keep talking about Maddie Ward throughout this season, but for me, as a wicketkeeper batter, I hope we really do, because she's just such an exciting talent. And to be able to have that calm head on her and come in when her team is massively under the pump and still play her reverse sweeps, her switch hits, her positive brand of cricket, I think just shows what an exciting prospect she is. And I can't wait to see her keep developing her game.
We also talk about young players. I hadn't appreciated until I did my research for Finals Day on Saturday that the oldest player in Middlesex's squad is 27. They have an exceptionally young squad to be performing at this level against a pretty much fully professional side. 10 of the 11 players in Yorkshire's 11 were on professional contracts.
I guess that just shows that, I think Saskia Hawley spoke about it, that team has obviously been together in the original county cricket era, quite a lot of them, and then obviously they've introduced a few players from outside Middlesex who may have had regional experience in the past, but they certainly look like a team that support each other, know each other inside out, and they've got a fantastic head coach in Mark Broom, who I know myself, and I know exactly what he's about with cricket. So I mean, absolute kudos, big well done to Middlesex.
And we do have to mention this chase briefly. I mean, didn't lose a wicket. Once again, they went through a whole finals day without losing a single wicket. Izzy Routledge, 31 not out from 34, player of the match because she also got 2 wickets. And Finty Trussler, once again, with 52 not out from 45. It's just exceptional.
I mean, what are the odds for a team to play a semi-final and finals and not lose a wicket? Imagine being number 3 in both games and getting severe pad rash. But if your opening batters are going to go out there and do that and they're seeing it like an absolute beach ball, fair play to them. And yeah, it was so great to watch Finty obviously take down Yorkshire and play her game and hit 2 big sixes as well and have no fear, I guess for Middlesex, they obviously are playing against a fully professional side, and for them, the occasion in itself, they could have been nervous or they could have crumbled against it, but for them, it was the opposite. They absolutely thrived under that situation. And it was so great to see them chase it down again with no wickets.
And cricket-wise, it was an exceptional day. But I do need to have a slight rant about the logistical side of things. It wasn't ideal from anyone's perspective. Starting with as media. Even arranging being at the day was nearly impossible. I mean, we were given contact by the ECB media team because they decided they weren't running the day because it wasn't tier 1. So it was down to journalists to individually contact the club to arrange their attendance, whereas for tier 1 finals day, you apply for it on the ECB media portal, you get sent all the details by the ECB, you get to the ground, there's no plug sockets for you to plug your laptop into. It's the little things, but from a player's point of view, the outdoor nets were covered all day. They weren't allowed any access to them. Their warm-up slots were made up of 30 minutes, 2 net lanes for their whole squad in the indoor centre. There was no food at the ground for spectators, apart from a couple of sausage rolls and pies from a coffee van. And the trophy. I don't know if you saw the trophy, Chloe, but the one yesterday at tier 1 was this incredible, bespoke, vitality-covered, solid metal, what you'd expect at a major sport event. I mean, the one for tier 2, it looked like someone had gone down to the local shop and just bought a trophy like one you'd receive at school. And I understand that the ECB have a lot to do, and there's a lot going on this season, but it did feel like tier 2 was kind of pushed away in a way, and they decided they wanted to do it on a cheap.
Yeah, I guess that's frustrating, obviously, to hear. Obviously, not being there myself, to not see and not witness, but yeah, it's frustrating from the ECB to put tier 2 in that situation, I guess. Obviously, I presume they would have sent Northampton's schedule and told them what teams need training and stuff like that. I know that they were obviously all there the day before and were all able to train on the outfield, but you need that on a game day to have a facility area to go and train. And the indoor at Northants, it's a great setup in the indoor school they've got there. So it's obviously quite sad to see how it's being utilised in terms of half an hour per team. And yeah, I think the ECB going forward need to make tier 2 finals day a big occasion. And obviously we saw how exciting tier 1's finals day was. Let's have it on the same wavelength, have the same sort of trophy style and just change. Well, it's Vitality Blast League 2 or Vitality Blast League tier 2. And make sure there's coffee, food, drinks, alcohol, whatever for tier 2 finals day. And obviously, I guess Northampton were potentially told from the ECB what to expect. So I guess half of it probably isn't on them, but as a county, how could they also make the day better for spectators and also give their ground a bit more of a better reputation? Because obviously they've got a tier 2 side, and Northampton women have played at the county ground several times, so they obviously support and back their own. I guess would it have been a different occasion if Northampton women made the finals day?
And it was such a contrast between Sunday and Saturday, because at the Oval, I mean, as I've said, the ECB absolutely smashed it, and I do take my hat off to them because everything ran as smoothly as it possibly could have done. I mean, even to the point of just being accommodating in terms of the Euros final, etc. They did a really good job. And then you've got Saturday and you've got tier 2, and it almost felt like I was back in regional cricket. It felt a bit like Derby in 2024 for the Charlotte Edward Cup finals day, where there also wasn't any food. There appears to be a theme. But hopefully moving forward, as we get more experience with the tiered game, it can move up a level.
Yeah, definitely. Shall we move on to our finals day tier, I guess?
I think we should, and I'm going to let Chloe take the ropes with that one, because Chloe was playing in tier 3 finals day yesterday. So do you want to kick things off?
Now, obviously, on to the tier 3 final day, which obviously took part on Sunday, same day as tier 1. And this was at the lovely Wormsley Estates. So we had two finals. The first final was at 11 a.m. and that was the Division 2 final. So whoever won that match gained promotion into Division 1 in the Tier 3 league, and that was between Oxfordshire and Shropshire. Oxfordshire won the toss and elected to bat, and they posted a competitive total of 150 for 9 in their 20 overs. And in return, Shropshire were 112 for 8 at the end of their 20 overs. So that means next season, Oxfordshire are promoted into Division 1 league. I guess they just need to work out whether they go into the South group or the North group in Division 1. But yeah, really good finals day for them. A couple of shout outs. Amy Diab, 49 of 35. Sophie Grayson, who's had a fantastic season for Oxfordshire, 33 of 22. And then the pick of the bowlers for Shropshire were Esther Herford, 2 for 27 off her 4 overs. And then 1 wicket apiece for Amy Griffiths, Harriet Shuker, and Isabel Cram. Is there anything that you want to add, or that I guess you probably didn't see it from a journalist perspective, Tier 3 coverage, but anything you've heard, I guess, about Oxfordshire or Shropshire before I move on to the Division 1 final?
I mean, I guess my biggest question for you is, obviously, you had the 2 games on the finals day. I'm curious about whether the crowd was good for both or just for the one later on in the day, kind of how that worked.
Yeah, no, the crowd was fantastic at Wormsley, and they hosted it exceptionally well. It's such a prestigious ground to play at, and lovely views. And yeah, obviously being a part of the coaching setup at Bucks and playing for Bucks when the games don't clash with Tier 2 is something I've done this season, and it's been really pleasing and rewarding from a coach-player perspective to help the girls out that I coach. So obviously the final was in Division 1 was Buckinghamshire against Wiltshire, and we arrived just as the first innings was finishing of Oxfordshire's batting. And yeah, you literally walked in, you're like, oh, like, where can my parents sit, or where can these spectators sit? Like, it was full all around, and it was so lovely to see. And like, there was ECB photographers there. Obviously, most teams had their photographers as well. There was loudspeakers, loud music. Someone on the I guess what's on the microphone all day, sort of like emceeing. Yeah, it was really, really good. And I think Wormsley hosted it exceptionally well. And I think maybe Tier 2 could have taken a little leap out of the finals day at Wormsley, because I think Wormsley is such a lovely ground, and Tier 2 final could be played there. I think England women used to play there years and years ago. Like, it's such a lovely ground, and it can host an exciting final, and it hosts some fantastic games. So I guess moving on to the Division 1 final was Wiltshire against Buckinghamshire. Wiltshire won the toss and only posted 114 for 7 from their 20 overs. And there were some fantastic bowling performances from Buckinghamshire. So Cara Duggan, the captain for Buckinghamshire, 4 overs, 2 for 12. Tegan Stockdale, who's a young pathway player, 4 overs, 1 for 10. So she's had a great day out. And then 1 wicket apiece for Natasha McBean, Amelia Ridgway, and then 2 wickets for Molly Carter, 2 for 37. So yeah, some fantastic performances all round. And I guess from a playing perspective, it should have been a total to chase down comfortably, but unfortunately Bucks fell short by 6 runs. And I guess from a player and a coach perspective, it was obviously upsetting for Bucks not to get the win because of how well they bowled and how well they were on the field. But yeah, I guess it's that finals day pressure and scoreboard pressure for such a young team to be in that situation. I think I was counting it earlier, and I think only out of that 11, 5 were actually women players. The rest were all still pathway players. So to be in a position where they've got to a Division 1 final, obviously I've only played 6 games or 5 games, sorry, out of I think the 8 or the 10. So for them to even get to the final, I think it's fantastic. But yeah, if I obviously just run through a few of the scorecard, I won't give myself a shout out unless you want to. But Annie Townsend opened the batting 20. Cara Duggan was not out at the end, and I think obviously being a captain and obviously wanting to put that pressure, like not have that pressure on herself, but also wanting to have that pressure on herself. She was 24 of 28, but she sort of controlled that middle period really nicely with the youngsters coming through. But yeah, it was one of those days where the occasion, I think, got the better of the youngsters. And not to take any credit away from Wiltshire, Catherine Mills, 4 overs, 3 for 21, and Neve Mansell, 2 for 29, and then 1 wicket apiece for Emily Smith and Saina. 1 wicket apiece for Emily Smith and Saina Karuna, 1 for 20.
And I mean, on that note, I will give a shout out to Chloe because 33 from 32 in a final. I mean, you absolutely smashed it. So well done.
Yeah, I mean, deep down, I guess I'm frustrated that I got out. Because for me, I felt so comfortable out there and playing at a wicket at Wormsley. It just not obviously trying to state the difference between tier 2 and tier 3, but me, when I go back and play in tier 3, I sort of actually probably put more pressure on myself because I'm playing with the girls I coach. But obviously, I guess there is a little bit of a standard difference in terms of the pace of the bowling and stuff like that. And sometimes I guess that's actually a harder challenge to step down and face slower bowling, I guess. But yeah, I mean, being out in the middle and how I felt in the previous games for Bucks leading up to that final, I was feeling pretty comfortable. So I guess it's probably one that I can take on the chin there, unfortunately, because I got out. Who knows? Could the score change? But I guess it goes down to scoreboard pressure, and I think it's a great learning curve for the youngsters going forward. And yeah, I guess I'm so proud from Bucks from that point of view. But I guess a massive well done to Wiltshire for winning the Division 1 final, and again a massive well done to Oxfordshire for winning Division 2 final. Just on that, in Division 1, obviously because we've got promotion and relegation, Cambridgeshire will be relegated into Division 2 next season.
I guess the last thing I'd ask you is, what do you think the day represents for the development of the domestic game, and how important is Tier 3 for creating those pathways?
You know, I think it's massive. I think having the 3-tier system and having it all in a competitive structure of leagues, sort of on the same wavelength of having it as tier 3 Metro Bank or tier 3 Vitality. I think it's so cool for these 14, 15, 16-year-old girls coming through and maybe up and coming in tier 2 and tier 1 in future to come. I certainly think it's needed, and it's so good, I guess, to see certain players step up. And you see some of these players in tier 3 and you think, well, you're going to be in a tier 2 side in the next couple of years, and who knows, you might work your way up. And for me personally, I think it's great.
Well, on that note, I think we have covered 2 days and 3 finals days of exceptional cricket, and we have some very exciting interviews for you. We will be speaking to Surrey captain Bryony Smith and the star of the day, Finty Trussler of Middlesex. But for now, that is all.
Thanks for listening to this week's 2 Tiers Deep. If you like to find me, Chloe Hill, you can find myself on Instagram with a new Instagram page covering this podcast at 2 Tiers Deep CH. Or I'll pass you over Rosa to find herself at
Rosa Talks Ball. Or if you have any questions, you can contact us on rosatalksball@gmail.com. And please don't hesitate to get in touch.